Hello, Party Down Catering.
Yes, of course we're open for business.
Ron has been keeping his eye on the prize, trying to, get into the next level of ownership class, and to own something, be it Super Crackers or, Party Down Catering. And so, that takes time and the years tick away, but he's never stopped believing.
Even though he's living in his van.
It's not always easy for Ron, and so it seems like he's about to become owner of Party Down, but then some shit happened.
Are you okay?
I had some silver for gravitas.
I meant your hand.
Oh.
The original show was about a group of people who were trying to achieve their dream in show business, and success was just sort of beyond their grasp. And I think that's pretty directly why we all connected with it at the time, We all had our faces pressed up against the glass of show business and had similar feelings and frustrations, and sort of, through the show we're able to, exercise those and found each other and sort of made the show for each other and for ourselves, since we didn't think anyone would ever see it, or certainly didn't know if anyone would ever see it. So here we are 13 years later, and all these characters and the actors playing them have matured and have kind of settled into life a bit. And so it was really interesting kind of seeing and feeling how those changes affected the show.
This is no joke. This is catering.
When we last left Constance, she had just gotten married to a very old guy who she loved, who was very, very rich. She loved that too. And he dropped dead right out as they were driving away to go off into their honeymoon. So in one moment, she loses her husband, but realizes she's really, really wealthy. So when we see her these many years later, she's still very, very wealthy, and somehow she's held on to the money and hasn't spent it all because she's an innocent, and she's very simple, and she's guileless. And it's kind of surprising after 10 years that someone hasn't talked her out of her money, but she's enjoying being, a patron of the arts. Some of the stuff is kind of iffy, kind of new agey. But she wakes up living the dream. And frankly, even when she was working for Party Down, she was living the dream.
Well, as you would hope, Kyle Bradway has risen through the ranks of Hollywood, working a ton and reaching peaks and valleys, and so he's kind of going through the struggle of stardom, maybe stardom, and also just growing as a person, finding out who he really is. Is he just an actor? All that kind of stuff. So,
or is he the necromancer?
It's Nitromancer.
Nitromancer.
It must be so fun to be back slinging derves with the old gang.
No, it sucks.
Want tight professional service.
Lucy is new to the Party Down team. She has been brought on as the chef. She identifies as a food artist and is really hoping to flex her artistic skills and hoping that there will be support, resources, permission to explore new ideas, and quickly realizes that's not the job.
We find Saxon fully believing that his social media career is about to just explode, and he's gonna be the biggest, the next Charlie D'Amelio, and the season is him trying to claw his way up there and figure out what his niche is to grab onto.
Are we having fun yet? You're the beer ad? It looks like that guy.
No, it's actually him.
One of the reasons that I think we all leaned so hard into this idea originally was that it also felt like it was a way for us to sort of, comically engage with just this kind of idea of always follow your dreams, never let them go, and then you will make it, hard work will lead you to the, all the sort of platitudes that kind of drive a certain amount of, this kind of activity. And sometimes they hold true and sometimes they don't at all. And so, we wanted to sort of dive into that notion that it doesn't always work out. It doesn't always, work the way you think it will. You can work yourself to death and nothing can come of it, or you can just meet the right person and it all happens.
We were talking a little bit about like when you went and got coffee that day.
Yeah. And I ran into Christopher Guest,
right.
And that kind of opened up a bunch of doors for me. But I will tell you this, the cream does rise. And I'm sorry if someone's really, and I know there are a lot of people out there who are very good who will, for reasons that have nothing to do with them, never be on a television show or in a movie. And it's all about the medium of television and film and who sparks in it and who ignites the imagination of the makers. And it has nothing to do with how good a person is or how talented they are sometimes, but the cream does rise to the top.
It's very relatable, especially in the entertainment business of and in any industry really, like why someone kind of goes a little higher than the other person and why someone doesn't really make it.
So we wanted to sort of, have that kind of uncertainty and that kind of, sense of, it's not fair, and you try and figure out how you deal with it in kind of your own head and in the way you live your life and the way you make choices about what to do. And so I think we always thought that gave the show like just a nice extra dimension of, I don't want to say it's depth or anything like that, but it definitely gives us a different perspective to be looking at these sort of things than, the traditional, fame route or something like that, where it's all about just putting in your hours, in the dance studio, and then, off you go and you're a star. I think that's kind of the joke of the show is as soon as you make it, you're not on the show anymore. So
2023 will be my 30th year in show business, and I think if I really look back and try and distill it down to one thing that has helped me, I think it's honestly just sticking around and just not leaving or not stopping. I always thought like the one thing I have is I know I'm never gonna leave. I know I'm not gonna stop. I don't have anything else that I can do, but also I'm not interested in anything else. I really do only want to do this. And so I think if you make that decision and you just stick around, eventually, the way I see it is eventually I was just there and they didn't really have a choice.
And that's bringing it back to Ron.
Mm-hmm.
That's what he's been doing his whole life. He's got to put himself out there.
He's undaunted.
And sooner or later, he's gonna hit big. And that's what brings us into Party Down Season 3. Ron is about to become owner of Party Down Catering. Just watch.
Yeah. See you in 12 years.